these little things in our life, the more that you are identifying with the lack mentality, the more that you are creating self-sabotage behaviors coming from one side of, oh, okay, I can't do this, and having that be my reality for many years. Psychology plays a factor in manifestations and how manifestations play a factor in your 3D reality. I've been able to really understand, and don't get me wrong, I feel like some people out there, they paint the picture as if they already know everything and as if they can't learn anymore. And I think that's when you really do yourself a disservice. Like, I am constantly learning, and you can constantly learn from anybody, whether they are older than you, younger than you. Everybody has a story. We all have something to share if we allow ourselves to see it that way. What's going on, guys? Alexa Penga here, your host for Walking Manifestator, at it again with our episode number 6. And I am so excited to be here today because I have so much that I want to share with you guys. I want to talk about self-sabotage in this episode. So as I've been able to learn more of how our ego really identifies with two things. Number 1 is lack. Number 2 is fear. So we really need to dial back a little bit to understand how self-sabotage is really a recipe for either disaster or growth, depending on how you choose to see it. And I'm going to share with you my perspective on this because, again, everybody's different, and I feel like certain people are going to understand messages from certain people versus other individuals. And I feel like that's the beautiful part. It's like any industry, right? There's certain teachers that maybe you really fell in love with at one point in time, and there was others that you were like, yeah, no, I did not get the point. And the same goes for people on the opposite side, right? Maybe they actually did like that teacher that you didn't. Doctors, it's the same way, right? We all have that one doctor that we met that was like, oh wow, you explain things like if I wasn't dumb and you actually made me understand it, versus maybe other doctors that maybe make you feel like, yeah, no, we're not on the same frequency, right? So the way I like to see self-sabotage is it's a indicator of the opportunity of growth. And let me explain what that means. So let's say you're in a situation in your life where you just feel like there is so many things that you want to achieve, right? Maybe it comes down to your business, and I'm going to use that as an example right now. Your business is something that maybe you're like, oh my gosh, like I just want to be at point Z already, but it's just not there yet. And this is something that I've been working so hard at, but it just feels like I give 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Well, here's an interesting fact there. That concept, that thought that you're having of saying, I give 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or 1 step forward and 2 steps back, you're putting that into the existence of that energy for it to actually play out as if you are constantly struggling, as if you are constantly going through a situation where you're giving a step forward, but then you feel like you are giving steps back. Self-sabotage, when you really dissect it, is there coming from your ego. Your ego is trying to keep you safe. Your ego is trying to allow your present reality to stay as presently the same as possible because of the fear of failure, because of the fear of judgment, because of the overall lack limitation that we've been conditioned to believe in. And in case you missed the last episode, we've talked about limiting beliefs. We've talked about how when you are in an environment where all you have heard is people tell you you can't go and become an attorney because that's just not something normal in our family, and you need a lot of money in order for you to achieve that, your brain automatically, if you believe that information, is going to shut down. And now it's going to find all the reasons why you cannot achieve that. But the fun fact is, if you allow yourself to dream, which is why they truly say that dreaming is what has started anything that is now, right? Somebody called once upon a time the brothers that actually invented the plane, crazy. Like, you're trying to fly a object through the sky. Like, yeah, call the psychiatric, because he's definitely not seeing things wisely. And ironically, that dream that he had, that people called them crazy for, became the reality, right? That now we're able to actually utilize in such an advantageous way. So when you have those limiting beliefs, it makes you identify with that end result as a lack limitation. So I've given examples about my lifestyle in the past. We came from very humble beginnings. So situations where I wanted something new, I remember it was like, well, we really can't afford that, and if you're going to want something new, we're going to have to essentially, you're going to have to work for it, and you're going to have to actually go and buy that yourself. I remember my first pair of Abercrombie jeans. For those of you that know Abercrombie, I was just like amazed by the fact that I was able to say I had some Abercrombie jeans, and I remember like wearing them all the time because I had Abercrombie jeans, and that was just like not something that we had. It was always going to like, downtown to buy like jeans and stuff. And the fact that I was able to get these Abercrombie jeans, I was like, oh my gosh. So these little things in our life, the more that you are identifying with the lack mentality, the more that you are creating self-sabotage behaviors. And the reason I say that there's two ways to really see this is because coming from one side of, oh, okay, I can't do this, and having that be my reality for many years, and now really diving into how psychology plays a factor in manifestations and how manifestations play a factor in your 3D reality, I've been able to really understand. And don't get me wrong, I feel like some people out there, they paint the picture as if they already know everything and as if they can't learn anymore. And I think that's when you really do yourself a disservice. Like, I am constantly learning, and you can constantly learn from anybody, whether they are older than you, younger than you, whether that's the CEO of a company or the janitor of a company. Everybody has a story. We all have something to share if we allow ourselves to see it that way, right? Because some people say, well, I just don't have anything to teach, because of the fact that that's what they're believing. Again, our belief system, right? So I feel like as I've been able to really embark that journey of saying, okay, this self-sabotage behavior is protecting me from something. So it kind of gives me a hint that there's an opportunity of growth right behind whatever it is that I'm trying to self-sabotage. So let's say it's starting a new business. Even this podcast, there's part of you that says there's just so many other people that are just so well-spoken and have this extensive vocabulary that, oh my gosh, like I love listening to. Like, why would somebody want to listen to me? Is like that limiting belief. And then you have to become aware of it and say, you know what? Because I have my own secret sauce, right? I have my own story that I'm going to share, and it's going to be different than what somebody else is going to share. Nobody's going to have the exact same story. Maybe similarities, maybe similar backgrounds, but never the exact same story. And I think that this is something that sometimes we take very lightly, which we shouldn't. We should really see how impactful that is, because as you become aware of why you're self-sabotaging and why you're trying to stay in that same place that you are in life, you are able to pivot out of it. So for me now, it's like, okay, I'm self-sabotaging because I'm afraid of something that is unknown. And this is why I say understanding your internal beliefs, your internal dialogue is so key for anything you're trying to do in life. Because a lot of us, we get so consumed by, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. Oh my gosh, I am trying to launch this new business, but it's just not coming out the exact way that I want it. Oh my gosh, these things are right now very complicated in my life, and it feels like everything is happening, to me versus for me. The more that you identify with that frequency, the more you're attracting that frequency into your life. And I'm going to share a quick story because this is just so spot on with what just occurred to me. So I traveled to London. I left last week on Wednesday, actually Tuesday, but we arrived on Wednesday. It was the longest trip, and perspective is so important. And this is why, as you become more aware of how things play out in life, react. You really have the ability to choose how you're going to react. Maybe you don't have the ability to choose how they're going to happen to you, but how you react plays such a domino effect into everything else. So when we're originally leaving, okay, our flight was basically canceled because originally we were already on board and they told us that we had a flat on the airplane. I don't know how much you guys travel, but that has never happened to me in the times that I've traveled. So I was definitely like, okay, interesting. So they took us off the airplane. We are waiting, but we're concerned because we have a connecting flight over in Dallas to get us to London. And we're like, oh gosh, we're going to lose that connecting flight. So I start messaging the people on the app because I feel like they're just like a lot more responsive on the app, quicker. So I'm messaging them on the app, and long story short, the lady was super helpful and she was able to actually edit our flight and get everything situated for us to be able to, again, get another connecting flight. I say super helpful because she did what she knew she had to do. But when we later were trying to get on the flight, we found out that she had actually canceled our reservation from El Paso. And now we had no flight to get to Dallas, which was our connecting flight. So we could have chosen at that point to honestly like just lose our, I'm not gonna cuss here, but we didn't. And I feel like so many people, and that's why a lot of the times, if you notice, a lot of the customer service representatives can be very rude because of how they are treated, okay? So I feel like when you take a different approach with those people that are in the customer service industry, I was in the customer service industry for many years, and I know that when people were rude, back then I didn't see things the way that I see it, I would hang up on them. I'd be like, I'm not gonna deal with you. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You hang up. And that's what happens. A lot of these people are just so fed up with other people acting rude toward them that they give you that energy back. Well, instead of us freaking out, we went over to the person that was there. Martin was super helpful. He even upgraded our flight class because we already had the business class, but he upgraded us to actual first class. And it was just very interesting how that small awareness, instead of us acting a certain way, we were able to really now control our reaction and have a different outcome from that. A second thing that happened after our trip was once we landed in London, our baggage was sent to the wrong airport. So we were literally for 3 days without our stuff, like nothing but the things we were wearing and the backpack we were carrying, which thankfully had like my chargers and stuff, because when you're traveling, you want to have that with you. Literally nothing else. We were wearing some like jeans or sweatpants, and my friend was with me. She was wearing like some, sweatpants, and we had no clothes. So thankfully, we were blessed enough to be able to have the opportunity to go shopping and buy our things. But that could have been such a completely different approach. We could have taken the approach of acting very ugly toward them and yelling at them just like everybody else does. But instead we're like, okay, we understand things happen. What can you do to help us? Because we have an event that we have traveled for. We've been traveling for over 20 hours at this point, and we just want some help, right? Why is this an important part? Because you are constantly self-sabotaging things that are happening in your external reality. A lot of the times you wonder, why are these things happening to you? But it's like life is literally like constantly throwing the same frequency back to you. It's like this like back and forth that you don't even realize it's happening until you become aware of how it is starting off. So as you dive deep into self-sabotage behaviors, you're really able to understand that for all of us, we have events in our life that have happened that we continue to believe they happen to you versus for you. A lot of the times people think like, how are you going to tell me that I chose for this to happen to me? Or how are you going to tell me that this is a way that I can react to this experience in a positive way? Look at what's happening. But you see, that's the thing. Whatever's going to happen next is going to be a direct correlation of how you reacted to it. That's the bottom line, okay? That is like science to the T, because I know I have a lot of analytical people that they just want to understand more, but it's a frequency, it's an energy. So whatever energy, because you are carrying energy with you, like that's been scientifically proven. This is not just some like crazy, theory that, people are saying, oh, it could be energy. No, like it's been actually proven that we have energy. So whatever energy we're constantly putting out is the energy we're going to receive. And especially in the moments when you're being tested. So I made a manifestation at the beginning of this year. I went to the store and I saw a pink hat. Okay. This hat was like Parisian vibes all over it. And I saw the hat and I did not know when I was going to go to Paris, because I've been literally dreaming about this ever since I was in 3rd grade. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen. I just know what I wanted to happen. So I purchased this hat with the assumption of the wish fulfilled. This is the importance of identifying with the end result, but enjoying the journey, not worrying about how is it going to happen. Just, I know what's going to happen. Okay. So I purchased this hat. I remember literally as I was wearing the hat, I was like doing my manifestations. Like, I'm so thankful that I'm going to have my trip to Paris and it's going to be so beautiful. Guys, this year I was able to go to Paris after many years of me just like really thinking about Paris. It was this year that I decided to buy that hat and say, you know what? It's already happened. I'm so thankful that I've gone to Paris. I'm so thankful for the fact that I have this opportunity. And it was like the universe literally aligned everything in synchronicities for me to be able to go to London. And from there, I was able to travel to Paris in a 2.5 train ride over to Paris. It was the best 2 days of my life. Super amazing experience. I'll definitely share more with you guys if that's something you guys are interested in. But this is why it's so important to focus on what we want in life versus how it's going to happen. And I know that's a little hard for some of us because we want systems. We want to understand like, okay, well, what are the tangible things I can do? But here's the thing, and this is not just coming from me, this is coming from multiple very, very highly successful people that share. No system is ever going to help you unless you have the right mindset to conquer that system. And the more that you're able to just detach from, I need these systems in order for my business to work, or I need this set of rules to happen in order for my relationship to work. You're so identified with these steps that need to happen versus what you want to happen that it never matters what system you get. It can be the best system in the world. You're never going to achieve the end result that you want because you're so focused on how you want things to happen. And I hope this really resonates with some of you, because I would, and I'm still learning this, the more that I continue to dive into, working on myself internally, the energy, the frequencies, the laws of the universe. And I remember just being such a person that like wanted things to happen exactly the way that in my mind I wanted them to happen. Why is that? It's the self-sabotage. It's the behaviors. It's the paradigm. It's the conditioning that we've had because we believe that we are right. We believe that the way that we want things to happen is how it should be. Our ego is so identified with this like Titan mentality that it wants things to be exactly the way that it wants it to be, instead of how we could allow things to be, just allowing things to flow. We are all magical beings. Like, I will sit on this opinion until the end of time, because we are spiritual beings having a physical experience in a human body. And that basically means that we come from a higher source, a higher intelligence, whatever it is that you believe in. I am not trying to get into any type of religion here. I believe that religion is mainly to separate people, divide and conquer. I believe that any religion, whatever you're believing in, as long as it's not hurting another human being, is you believing in the same thing. It's a higher energy. It's a God. And I feel like the more that you're able to understand that you are part of that, you are not separated from it. And that's the thing that I feel a lot of people have such a hard time with, because they're like, you're telling me that I am worthy of these things, but this is what I've done in my past, this is who I've been. You have the decision to change that. You have the decision to keep working on yourself. You have the decision to continue to be who you are or work on who you want to be. And I feel like as long as you are able to wholeheartedly say, I am doing this because I have a deep passion for something that I want to work on, for something that I am trying to become, because I want to continue to learn more about who I truly am, not who they've taught me to be, but who I am. And a lot of us, we've been so conditioned by social media, whether you're wearing the Louis Vuittons or if you're not wearing them, or if you're wearing, that expensive designer bag, or if you're not, or if you're having the nicest car. You're so identified with these things in the external reality that you feel like you are lacking actual abundance within. And that's the thing, as you're able to tap into this material, this is the ironic part. All of those nice shiny things that you may think you need, you actually don't, but they just continue to flow because of the energy you're in. You're attracting things from a higher frequency. I remember this past trip, literally we were sitting at a restaurant and two people out of nowhere, like they just sat next to us. We started talking, and this man is literally a very, very important person. He is starting now another company, and this company is going to be like in the millions. That would have never been something that I could have felt I would have just like found randomly. I feel like as you are able to attract certain things from a higher frequency, people can feel that energy. And it's like people that are in this like negative mentality, you keep attracting more of those negative people. I know, because that was literally me. I kept attracting so many negative people in my life because I was a negative person. And I don't want to have you associate with good and bad as in like, oh, that's a bad person, this is a good person. It's just the frequency that you're carrying, the thoughts that you're carrying. So you can all work on that. It's just that limiting belief. It's just that paradigm that you've been conditioned by. And I want to share with you something here that I find very, very helpful. And this is by Inner Work. This is a book by Matt and Ashley. Highly recommend if you have not read it. But I'm going to read this paragraph, and it says, using force, however, will always leave it feeling defeated because life has a defined will of its own, which is far more powerful. We can only unlock the true fountain of freedom through surrendering. The ability to surrender to the divine will is actually the most powerful demonstration of our freedom. This is because surrendering requires us to have immense strength and inner discipline to consciously ignore the demands of a resilient, fearful ego. The ego is rooted in fear and lack, and therefore cannot have faith and trust in something higher than it. Whenever we continuously and consciously ignore the demands of the ego to either cower in fear and victimization or attack with aggression or force, we prove our liberation. Let's just dissect that really quick. And what that means is that your ego is literally lack and limitations, fears, all the things that in your life you have been presented by that have made you feel unworthy. That is literally the ego. And as long as you continue to identify with the ego, that is what you're going to continue to attract more of. Limiting beliefs, limiting people, problems in your life, which in reality aren't problems if you choose to be aware and say, you know what, this is a lesson that I have something to learn from. Even the negative people are actually not negative, they're a mirror. Some of these people that sometimes we can't stand, sometimes there's people that say something and you're triggered by it. Why? Have you actually sat there and said why? Is it because your ego is saying that they're wrong because of a belief that you have, that you've been embedded by from the moment that you were born? Is it because of the fact that you think that they're wrong based off assumptions of who you have identified as? A lot of us, we think somebody else is wrong and we are right. And as long as you're able to recognize where you need to improve, you're on your way to becoming that highest and truest version of you. I always ask myself, who am I? Who am I? Who do I truly consider myself to be? And when I'm doing my manifestations, I really dial deep into who do I picture myself as this end result? When I'm manifesting, when I'm thinking about the things, the wish fulfilled already, I am constantly picturing myself articulate, intelligent, learning every day, surrounded by the best people, giving back to humanity. These are the things that I'm constantly thinking as already done. And as I continue to think about these things that I already see in my mind as they are, I'm able to attract more of that. Whenever I get presented with the opportunity to invest into a course that I think, oh my gosh, this could really make me better, I do it. But I remember at one point in time in my life, I remember seeing these courses and being like, yeah, they're just trying to sell me on something. No thanks. Why? Why is it that we think that? Because our ego is trying to keep us comfortable. Our ego is trying to say, you don't need that. Stay where you're at. You're perfectly fine. And some people, we're just afraid of change sometimes. Have you ever wondered why some people don't like to change? If you ask them, a lot of them, they don't think they can, but a lot of them, they think that they're going to lose people. Are you really losing something you never had? People that want the best for you, they want you to be the best version of you. So next time you have a self-sabotaging thought, just think, what is across that brick wall? What if you decided to explore that and become a better version of you? That's all I have for today, guys. I am so happy to be here. I am so happy that you are lending me your ears today. And I am just super passionate about continuing to make more of these overall journeys of my life that I hope more people can overall just learn from, because we can all learn from each other. So with that being said, I hope you have a fantastic day. I will talk to you on our next episode. And until then, sending you many, many blessings.